after Ollie Robinson said what he said, this England cricket team hasn't played against Australia, and they'll find out pretty quickly what playing Ashes cricket and playing against a good Australian cricket team is all about. And if Ollie Robinson hasn't learnt that already after last week, then he's a slow learner.
I think when you're in the heat at the moment and you have the passion of the Ashes, that can happen. I think we've all seen Ricky Ponting, other Aussies do the same to us. So just because the shoes on the other foot, it's not received well.
But some of the things he had to say. I mean, he even brought my name into it, which I felt was a little bit unusual. But for me, water off a duck's back. If he's sitting back thinking about me, then no wonder he bowled like the way that he did in that game. If he's worried about what I did 15 years ago, he'll learn pretty quickly that if you're gonna talk to Australian cricketers in an Ashes series, then you want to be able to back it up with your skills.
Things from the English perspective, how soul-sapping can a loss like this be, knowing that there were several instances through the match where they were actually ahead in the contest?
I think it's going to be a really good test for England. Actually, I think it's going to be a good test for their style of play. I think it's going to be a good test for their leadership and their coaching. And because one thing that I'm not concerned about, one thing that I was looking forward to seeing most was how this style of play actually stood up against Australia. After day one, everyone was saying that Australia were negative. Australia had lots of questions to answer. How is Australia going to combat what England are doing? But Australia won the game. So as far as I'm concerned now, England have more questions to answer than Australia. One on their style of play, but also now looking at that first test, they've got some selection issues that they're going to have to deal with as well. So Moeen can't play the next game, looking at with his finger the way it is. Johnny Bairstow actually had a very ordinary game behind the stump, so there's about 4 chances that he put down. And on flat wickets, if they want flat wickets, you cannot afford your keeper to be making mistakes, because if you look at those mistakes by themselves, some people might say that might have those mistakes could have cost England the Test match. So there's a few questions that they have to answer, whereas Australia, because they've won the game, they'll have to answer a lot fewer questions.
You mentioned that England have to answer a bunch of questions on their own, but Ben Stokes looked pretty positive after that loss. He said, and I quote, "We are not results driven." What do you make of this attitude, knowing that they've lost the first crucial test match of these Ashes?
Yeah, I've heard them say that before, that they're not results driven, but I don't believe that for a second. This is an Ashes series. This is the biggest challenge that Ben Stokes has had in his career as a captain. I'm not copying that. I mean, if they're not results driven, they wouldn't be disappointed at all about losing. And it seemed to me last night, and he said it, that all his players were in pieces at the end of that game. So that means that, to me, that they do care about losing, and you should. Winning test matches is not easy. Winning test matches is not an easy thing to do, and winning Ashes tests is not easy. Now, you don't want to be giving good cricket teams opportunities back into a game of Ashes cricket when you're in